So the first thing you want to do before you start the process is come in here, take out this holding board, which this is where you're going to glue your print on, and turn this heater on and make sure this is set just below 200. You want to get it up to about 190 degrees. Between 190 and 200 is ideal. So turn that on, and then this iron that you'll be using to tack the dry mount tissue to the print, you want to plug it in so it starts getting hot. And be careful that it doesn't touch paper or other prints or something like that. So that's step one. Okay, so to use this rototrim, what you want to do is your print goes under this, and you line it up with this straight edge down here and ruler. And you can see where the metal is, where your blade is going to cut. This is your blade here. You don't want to start here and go away from you. You want to come towards you, and there is a notice that says so. So you line it up here. Now we have our paper on the back. We're just trimming everything to size. We have our dry mount tissue on the back. So we've trimmed that. Looks good. And now this side as well. So now we have a little bit up here to trim. And now we have no dry mount tissue sticking out from our print. We're ready to put it on our mat board. So to start, you want to cut the window in your mat. You're starting first with boards that are 11 by 14, and you're going to mount an 8 by 10 photo onto it. The measurements that you want are 2 1/8 inches and 1 5/8 inches. I have them written on this board. So if you measure in, this is not the best ruler, 2 1/8 inch, you get something in this area here, right? 2 1/8, that's a quarter, it's a half. And if you measure in 1 5/8 here, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, we're talking here. So my line would be somewhere in here is where I have to cut my mat. So you mark your corners where you're going to cut your mat, and then we take it over to the mat cutting station to cut. So our angle would be fine from here, but again, then we'd be cutting on the wrong side. So what you have to do is cut on the back side that the viewer's not going to see. And what I generally think of is keeping the bulk of what the material you're cutting on the right side of the blade. And unfortunately, we're missing the little line-up barrier here. So you kind of have to angle it, line it up yourself as best you can. And what you want to do, there's my mark, you want to start about 1/8 of an inch in front of the mark and finish about 1/8 of an inch behind it. So I'll press through, bring it all the way through, go a little bit beyond, and lift up. And then rotate my board around and do the same on the next side. So start about 1/8 of an inch or so in front, get all the way through, go about 1/8 of an inch through. So in a perfect world, this falls right out. But in the real world, it doesn't always fall right out because you have sometimes some corners caught. Oh no, actually, we have a perfect world today. But if sometimes there's a little bit left on your corner, don't pop it out. Instead, take a razor blade and on the back side, just trim those little bits. And so what you should get is something that looks then like this. So you have no cuts into here. The through cuts are back here. And now you have so we're going to glue this piece of dry mount tissue rough side towards the print onto this thing so that we can tack it to this backing board here. One thing about this whole process is you might want to wipe off your surface before you start and try to keep everything as clean as possible. In the beginning you plugged this in, and this is essentially an iron. And you want to line this up so that there's no overlap. If there is overlap, you can trim it off. And you want to tack just some corners down so that this just stays on your print through the process. This iron has not gotten hot enough yet, I don't think. Yeah, okay. So now it's tacked to this. And we can start to decide where we want it to go on our board. So we bring it into this. So in this process, if you have any dry mount tissue sticking out from your print, that's bad. Because what it's going to do is get glue on this surface, which the next person after you then is going to get glue on their print. So we have nothing sticking out because we've gone to the trimmer and trimmed it. And at this point, some people like to use gloves. You want to make sure that your print fits within your window properly and there's no overlap. In this case, I think I kind of got it on the first try. So what you want to do is then hold your print and discard the cut mat. Keep holding it. Bring the lid down and press hard to keep holding the print in place and remove your hand. And now you have basically a sandwich that we're going to go into the heater here. Okay, so now you have this to 190 degrees and you lift this up. You take your sandwiched picture, making sure nothing moves within it. Slide it all the way back. Put this down and let it cook for about 1 minute 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So now that we're done, minute 30 seconds or so, we lift it up, take it out, and we have a mounted picture. Okay, so now we've taken it out and we want to make sure it's glued. It looks like it's on there. And what we need to do then is let it sit for another few minutes with some weight on it. So you use this really heavy press. I wouldn't let that touch my print. What I would do is either use the piece you cut out over your image or another piece of backing material. So let that sit for a few minutes. Okay, so this looks good in our mat, and what we want to do is just hinge it. So I want to line these up and then just add a little bit of tape into here. Masking tape is the best. And now we have a hinge and a final product. And the last step is you want to turn this guy off, open it, leave it open so it cools off, and take these holding boards and just slip them in there so that they're out of the way of the table surface. Make sure the iron, this guy, is also unplugged.